Okay, we're back here with a Sub-Zero 424 wine cooler. Brought it into the shop because it has a Freon leak. I didn't want to work on it in the customer's house because I didn't want to take any risk and damage anything. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the door so I don't damage it, because we're going to take this thing all apart. And just a safety, precaution, you don't want to get a scratch on there. That's a custom panel. This thing is spring loaded. You have to be careful with, so I usually open it up like it was first, and then we'll put it back on that way and turn it over. Here's the screws. I'm going to put the screws back in here just so I don't lose them. Okay, lift this up off and the spacer plate, and we're just going to put the screws back in so they don't get misplaced or lost. You have to take off this back cover. We'll move this and we'll put these screws right there, and we'll take out this ground wire and we'll get this cover out of the way. Okay, now the next thing, the switching valve is below here, and where all the evaporator coils tie in. So I've worked on this machine before and changed the switching valve. So this separates. See, and I'm going to use this tool here. I bought these online. They're great for furniture lifters and things like that. I think that's what they're called, furniture lifters. Just stick this in here like that. Just jack it up. There's a process port that I put on. I'm just checking the solder joints here. I don't see any oil, which is a good sign. So we'll get our sniffer out and our ultrasonic, and we'll start checking for leaks. Yeah. Okay, let's get this thing apart and start checking for a leak. Okay, on this one, you got to take the slides off to get that cover out. Okay, here are the evaporator coils. Trying to see if there's any oil in the trough. That would be an indication that there's a leak. I don't see anything. Well, look how corroded that suction line is there, that heat exchanger. This one's not so bad. Let's put some gauges on here and see what kind of pressure we have. 45 pounds back pressure. All right, so we do have some Freon in there. I always keep the batteries upside down when I'm not using this, because sometimes this thing gets turned on by itself when it's in my bag. Although I don't carry it in my bag anymore. Alright. Let's check the obvious things first. All right. Oh, I can see a kink in that tubing there. Look at that kink. That's the factory coil. Okay. One of the things you want to check first on these coils are the blast joints. The copper to aluminum. Okay. They might look good, but normally you'll see oil. When there's a leak, take some of the oil will leak out with it. So I can't pinpoint it. So now we're going to try the ultrasonic. It's going to be hard to do with these video glasses on, because I can't hear in my right ear. Okay, let's give it a shot. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm gonna put some nitrogen in the system and boost up the pressure. Okay, so I'm using my high side gauge. I'm gonna pump it into the low side of the system. This tank's almost empty. Let's see if that helps. Oh. Not finding anything. I'll take this cover off the back. Let me spray some water on the coils there, because that'll help. Hopefully help pinpoint. Boy. All right, so now I'm going to take off these covers, this cover here, so I can get in here and do a little bit better check. Okay, I spray a little water on the evaporator, and I'm picking up right there at the blast joint. Oh yeah, here it is. Right there. See the gauge going crazy? I heard it. It's coming from here. Oh, all right. And I tell them, remember I mentioned before that this was all corroded. It's moisture. Gonna have to figure out a way to get in there with the torch without damaging anything. I mean, I have other videos on my channel that show how to fix these. Oh, there it is. It's leaking at the blast joint too. Look, see that? There it is. So it is the blast joint. So I have to change the coil. Okay, 421, 1541. There's 2 coils in the box, but I only have one. I must have used one somewhere else. Thank God. I can get this thing fixed up. So they're both the same. And it goes in like this, and then of course this goes out the back. Like so. And we're going to take this piece off and we drain out the nitrogen, and then we'll change the coil. Now the coil hooks up into switching valve. So here's the lower coil. It's going to come down. It's on this side here. It's going to come around, and it's going to connect into, there's a T fitting in there, so I'm going to have to jack this up some more, get underneath there and take it all apart. It's a tedious job, but done it many times before. Alright guys, stand by. I'm going to get some works done here, and we'll come back to you. Okay, so to remove this coil, the lower coil, you have to take this P-clip off here, little screw, and then this is the lower, it goes around and it comes into this T-fitting right here, my fingers, that's a T, and gets swed into there. So that part comes out here. This is your lower evaporator. So we take out the screws that are holding the evaporator in place, and then we could either cut it out in pieces, which will make it a lot easier because we're not going to use it anymore. And then we're going to have to take this cover off also to get to the other screw that holds the evaporator on, and also the thermistor over there. Anyway, you can get that out. Nope. I gotta take these off. Okay, let me do that. Okay, here you go. Okay, we can cut that all up. Right, so for me it's easier just to cut this thing out. All right. Okay, we are back now, and one of the first things I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull out this tray, because otherwise it's going to melt from the torch. Okay, we're switching back to a number 5 tip. I'm going to cut this off because I don't want this thing to, I got enough burns on my body. Okay. Okay, so here is our new evaporator. And now we have to fish this through that hole. Which is not easy. Because you don't want to kink this thing. With the insulation on here, you can't really see. Okay, so I reconnected the evaporator and the thermistor and put this cover back on, and this cover goes here. We're going to put this all back together, and then we're going to solder the suction line and the heat exchanger in. So let me get the screws for that. Okay, so we got the new evaporator in, we got the plates on the side in. We cleaned it up a little bit. So now we can put our cover back in. This goes up. So the air goes up. I've seen some people put these things in like this. It's the wrong way. It goes like this. Okay. Now I'm going to put these rails back in just because I want to clean up some of the mess here. All right, and so I'll get these back in and then I'll finish up on the back. Okay, so I repaired this broken insulation here with this stick-on tape, this insulation tape. And now I'm going to take this caulking and stuff it in here. Replace the dried out caulking that came off. I'm just going to work it in, make it airtight. Now I got to move these blocks, get them out of the way, so I'll use my little tool. made to put a nice bend in here. So we're going to probably use our tubing bender. Now there's another clamp up here that holds this up like this. And we're going to put a bend here. Okay. That's got to go. Okay, so I got the suction line, it's hard to see here, soldered into the T. Now we got to get this capillary tube into the switching valve. Okay, let's check for leaks. There's a leak there. Okay, I think we got all the leaks here fixed. Like that, and then the drain hose goes there, so it's in the drain. Okay, so while the pump is pumping, we're going to weigh in 3.3 ounces of 134A into our charging column right here. Okay, so my camera's about ready to run out of juice. So I pull the vacuum on it. I weighed in the gas. And now I'm just balancing things out and seeing if it's going to work. I'm going to let it run overnight. Okay, here's an update on this evaporator coil on this 424 wine cooler. Plugged it in last night. Temperature went down to 45. Everything was working fine. I came in this morning and it was at 75 degrees. So, I put my gauges on. I checked the pressures. There was 0 pounds back pressure and the head pressure was over 200. So we have a restriction. However, I pulled out with my recovery no gas. So either the gas is locked in and the switching valve, actually there is a little something in there now, it's not really. So either the switching valve is plugged and gas is in there, or we have a leak. But that would, if we had a leak, the head pressure wouldn't be that high. So what I'm going to do, and I know that a lot of people are going to give me some slack about this, I'm going to flip this over on its side. I took the door off because we're going to raise the base, the cabinet from the base. But I want to show you something here, because if we lay this thing down on its side, the discharge line and the suction line are on this side of the compressor. The only thing over here is the process port. So the oil that's in the compressor is not going anywhere. If anything, it'll go in the process port. And so we'll just shoot some Freon through here when we get it back up right, push whatever oil's in here back into the dome. We'll let it sit for a while. That makes it easier for me to work on it, because work on it up on the bench is not easy. So let me flip it over, show you how I'm going to do that, and lay it down. That's it. So we'll take this off. I was supposed to deliver this thing today too. Okay, let's get this. Okay, we got to fix that. All right, so let me get my furniture lifter over here. Spread that apart. Hold on. Let me fix this wires here. Okay. So that gives me plenty of room in here. I see some moisture in the pan, so it was working. I don't see any oil here. If anything, it's probably restricted in here, because this is the line that I soldered in. And because this thing was slanted down, the solder could have rolled down and interfered with the capillary tube. So let me get my welding gear here and let's get to it. Okay, ran out of nitrogen, so I'm using an air compressor. I got a filter here. It's filtering out any moisture, so I don't put any moisture in the system. But I cut the capillary tube coming out of the valve, and it's clear. So it wasn't, I thought it might be plugged. It's not plugged. So if I open it up, okay, plenty good flow. I got to solder that back in. So now I'm wondering, where did the Freon go, and why is there a restriction? I'm thinking maybe I'm going to cut this T out. I have another 5/16 T, and just resolder all that. Maybe the pipe's clogged. Although if it was, I'd be getting a reading in the vacuum. So it's a puzzle for me right now. And let's see if we can figure out what it is. Here's an update. I cut that T out because I feel it was leaking from there, and I can see here. Here's my flashlight. It's got a really bad joint here. This probably was leaking out of there. See that joint? All right, and so I put a piece of insulation tape over that slit there, and I checked for leaks. Everything looks good. I'm going to sit it back upright, let the oil drain back down into the compressor, and then I'm going to charge it up. Okay, so this vacuum pump's been running for a couple hours. I'm going to shut it down. And then we'll weigh in 3.3 ounces of gas, 134A, and charge it up. Give another go at it. Hopefully this time we get it. So then we'll hook up put our door back on. Okay, I got too much in here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ounces. So now I'm going to have to get it back into the tank. All right, so let me heat up the charging column and push it back in. All right. For some reason or other, I can't find my heat gun. And I'm noticing as I get older, I'm getting more forgetful. Okay, let's let that balance out till we get it down to where we want it. Okay, so now I'm doing a sweep charge. We're pretty close to a 30-inch vacuum. Of course, if you're a tech, you know you can't pull a 30-inch vacuum here on Earth, but we're pretty close. That's indicating the compressor is pretty strong. The high side line is open, allow any air or any residual pressure to relieve the pressure out of the system. And so we'll take off I usually put this up to my ear, and you most likely can hear the valve inside, the flap valve, the reed valve tapping away. I feel no air pressure, so I know it's completely empty. So I'm going to disconnect it. Put on my cap. Oh, that doesn't have a seal in it. Let me get a cap. Okay, we got it. 3 ounces, a little bit over 3 ounces. This thing's been running here now in a sweep charge for about an hour. Okay, we're going to put vapor in here. Okay, let's give it a rip. Not very much gas, 3 ounces, 3.3 ounces. Not very much. And even less now with the new systems that are using R600A. I've charged up a couple of units, and it's like the size of a butane lighter. Very little. And better for the environment too. So okay, we'll let this balance out here. Suck all the vapor in. Check the temperature. If it starts pulling down, hopefully we can get this thing back to the customer tomorrow. All right, people, that's it. I'm going to button up the As you can see, I put the door back on, put the cover back on once all the Freon's in there, and then we'll close out this job, and we'll catch you on the next one.